Welcome back to the Awesome Agents podcast. Today we are talking about Google giving Opal an actual brain.
Yeah, so Opal is Google's no-code AI builder, and they just added what they call an agent step. It is a pretty big shift.
Okay, so for people who have not been following Opal, give us the quick version. What was it before this update?
Think of it as a visual editor where you drag and drop AI steps. Pick a model, define an input, connect the output to the next thing, like building a flowchart for AI tasks.
Yes. Right, so everything was manual. You had to wire up every single connection yourself.
Exactly. And now with the agent step, you just describe your goal. The agent, which runs on Gemini 3 Flash, figures out the plan on its own.
So instead of saying call this API, then pass this to that model, you just say make me a video about dogs?
More or less, the agent decides which tools to use. Need web research? It triggers search. Need video? It calls VO. Need to store something? It writes to Google Sheets.
That is a big jump from drag and drop. What is actually powering the decisions here?
Gemini 3 Flash, which is a deliberate choice. Flash is their speed optimized model. Fast inference, lower cost, good enough reasoning for tool selection.
So they are not throwing their biggest model at this, they are going for volume.
Right. They are designing for non technical users who will run lots of small workflows, not a few massive complex ones.
Okay, so beyond the agent itself, there were three other features that shipped. Walk me through those.
First one is memory. The agent can persist information across sessions using Google Sheets as a backing store.
Wait, Google Sheets? That is the memory system?
I know, it sounds crude compared to a vector database, but for a no code tool, it is kind of genius. Zero configuration works out of the box, and the user can actually see and edit their data.
That is a good point. If you are someone who has never touched a database, a spreadsheet is actually pretty intuitive.
Exactly. Second feature is dynamic routing. The agent can evaluate what it has done so far and choose which step to execute next. You define multiple paths with natural language criteria.
So it turns a linear workflow into a branching one without the user needing to understand state machines.
Precisely. And third is interactive chat. The agent can pause mid execution to ask the user a question if it is missing information.
Oh, that is interesting. So the workflow does not need every input defined up front.
That is the part I think matters most. It makes these workflows feel less like rigid pipelines and more like conversations.
Now, the skeptic in me wants to ask, how is this different from what Zapier or N8N have been doing with AI add-ons?
Integration depth. The agent has native access to Google's full model stack. Gemini, VO, Search, Sheets, no API keys, no OAuth flows, no service accounts.
So the killer feature is really that there is no configuration overhead.
For someone who has never written code, that is the product. The question is whether describe what you want scales when things get complicated.
Right, the demo was a visual storyteller app, which looks great, but a business workflow that needs to handle edge cases and retry failures.
That is a different conversation entirely. And honestly, that gap between demo and production is the challenge every no-code platform faces.
What about the broader picture here? Opal has been expanding pretty aggressively.
It launched US only in July 2025, hit 15 markets by October, went global across 160 plus countries by November. They integrated it into the Gemini web app in December.
So Google Labs is treating this like a real product pipeline, not just an experiment.
The cadence says yes, and I think the bet Google is making is clear. Developers will keep building agents with LangChain and Crew AI, but there is a much larger market of non-developers who want the same capabilities.
And Google thinks they can serve that market with a no-code tool that has an agent brain.
That is the bet. Whether it pays off depends on how far natural language instructions can actually take you when the workflows get real.
Great breakdown, Maya. Definitely one to watch. If you are curious about building agents yourself, we have a guide on the site. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time.
See you next time.